The fluorescent lights flickered one last time before plunging the hallway into darkness. Sarah pressed herself against the cold concrete wall, her heart hammering so hard she thought they'd hear it. She was 15 years old, and the three men blocking her path knew she had nowhere to run. But what none of them knew was that her father, stationed 7,000 miles away, had taught her one thing before every deployment. When the lights go out, that's when you fight back. And in exactly 47 seconds, these men would learn why you never corner a Navy SEAL's daughter. What city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe and follow for more stories about extraordinary people. Let me take you back to where this all started. Sarah Mitchell was a typical high school sophomore in Portland, Oregon. Well, as typical as you can be when your dad's a Navy SEAL who's deployed more often than he's home. Her mom worked double shifts as an A nurse, which meant Sarah spent a lot of time alone, walking home from debate practice after dark. Her father, Commander Jake Mitchell, had been deployed to the Middle East for 8 months. Before he left, they'd sat on the back porch together, and he'd said something that stuck with her. "Sarah, I need you to promise me something. The world isn't always safe, and I won't always be there to protect you. So I'm going to teach you what I teach my team: awareness, preparation, and when everything goes wrong, controlled aggression." She remembered laughing nervously. "Dad, I'm going to Portland High, not a war zone." He'd smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. "Baby girl, threats don't wear uniforms. They wear normal clothes and count on you being unprepared." For the next week before his deployment, he taught her things that seemed paranoid at the time: how to scan a room for exits, how to use her voice as a weapon, how to target vulnerable points on an attacker's body, how to break a grip, and most importantly, how to stay calm when your body wanted to panic. "Your greatest weapon isn't your fist," he told her. "It's your mind. Stay alert, stay thinking, and you'll survive anything." 3 months into his deployment, everything changed. It was a Thursday evening in November. Debate practice ran late, and Sarah was the last one out of the building. The parking lot was emptier than usual, just a few cars scattered under broken streetlights. She noticed the van immediately because her father's training had become automatic. White panel van, tinted windows, engine running. Wrong. She gripped her phone tighter and started walking faster toward the bus stop. That's when she heard the footsteps behind her. Not running, but purposeful. Multiple sets. "Hey, girl, got a minute?" Sarah didn't turn around. Rule number 1, never engage. She kept walking, her thumb hovering over the emergency call button her mom had set up on her phone. "I'm talking to you." The voice was closer now. She could smell cigarette smoke. Her father's words echoed in her head. "If they get within arm's reach, you've already made a mistake." She spun around, creating distance, and assessed the situation in seconds, just like he'd taught her. 3 men, mid-20s, spread out to cut off escape routes. The one in the middle had a scar across his eyebrow. They were blocking her path to the bus stop. "I don't want any trouble," Sarah said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I'm expected home. People know where I am." The scarred man smiled. "Relax. We just want to show you something. In our van. Won't take long." Her blood ran cold, but her training kicked in. She needed witnesses, noise, attention. "No thanks. Have a good night." She turned toward the school building, planning to run back inside, but one of them had circled behind her. "That wasn't a request, sweetheart." The scarred man grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but firm enough to send a message. This was happening, and that's when the lights went out. The entire parking lot plunged into darkness as the breaker panel failed, something that happened once a month at the old school. But Sarah had walked this parking lot hundreds of times. She knew every crack in the pavement, every obstacle, every exit. They didn't dot in the chaos of sudden blindness. Sarah did exactly what her father had drilled into her. She didn't scream. She didn't freeze. She exploded. She yanked her arm down and out, breaking the grip using the exact technique her dad had shown her. Then she drove her palm up into the scarred man's nose, not enough to seriously injure, but enough to shock and disorient. She heard him grunt and stumble back. "Get her!" one of them shouted, but they were fumbling in the darkness. Disoriented, Sarah dropped low and ran, not toward the building, but toward the street where headlights meant traffic meant witnesses. She heard them crashing behind her, cursing, confused, but she made one miscalculation. The third man anticipated her route and cut her off at the parking lot exit. She collided with him, and they both went down. He was bigger, stronger, and now he was angry. "You little." He never finished the sentence, because Sarah, flat on her back with a grown man on top of her, remembered the most important lesson her father had taught her. When you're at your most vulnerable, when defeat seems certain, that's when you find your real power. She drove her fingers toward his eyes, not to blind him, but to make him protect his face. The moment his hands came up, she bucked her hips just like her dad had shown her, throwing him off balance. Then she screamed. Not a cry for help, but a warrior shout that came from somewhere primal and fierce. The lights flickered back on, and standing 10 feet away, having just pulled into the parking lot, was Coach Henderson and 2 other teachers. They saw everything. The man on top of her, his 2 friends running toward them, Sarah on the ground. "Get away from her!" Coach Henderson roared, already on his phone with 911. The 3 men scattered like cockroaches when light hits them. They jumped in their van and tore out of the parking lot, but not before the teachers got the license plate number. Sarah sat on the curb, shaking as police cars arrived. She wasn't hurt. Scared, yes. Shaken, absolutely. But alive and safe, because when the moment came, she'd been ready. The police caught the men 3 hours later. They had a history. Sarah wasn't their first target, but because she'd fought back, because she'd left the scarred man with a bloody nose that he needed to get treated at an A, they had DNA evidence. Physical evidence. Those men went to prison, but here's the part that changed everything. 2 weeks later, Sarah's mom got a call on the satellite phone. It was her dad, calling from halfway around the world. He'd heard what happened through official channels. When Sarah got on the phone, she expected him to be worried, maybe angry that she'd been in danger. Instead, he said, "I heard you remembered your training. I was so scared." "Dad, being scared means you're alive, but you didn't let fear make your decisions. You stayed smart. You fought back, and you survived." "Sarah, I've trained hundreds of warriors, and most of them would have frozen in that situation. But you didn't. Do you know why? Why? Because I didn't just teach you techniques. I taught you that you're worth fighting for, that your life matters, that you have permission to be dangerous when someone threatens your safety. Too many people, especially young women, are taught to be polite, to not make scenes, to comply. But you understood the real lesson. Survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most prepared and the most determined." Sarah started crying then, all the fear and adrenaline finally releasing. "I'm so proud of you," her father said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved yourself. That's the greatest thing any warrior can do." Sarah's story spread through her school and community. She became an advocate for self-defense training for young people. She started teaching what her father taught her, empowering hundreds of other teens with the knowledge that they don't have to be victims. Her father came home from deployment 3 months later. The first thing he did was hug her for about 5 minutes straight. Then they sat on that same back porch, and he said, "I taught you to fight. But you taught yourself something even more important. You taught yourself that you're worth fighting for. Sometimes the darkness comes for us. Sometimes the lights go out and we're alone and scared. But we all have a warrior inside us, waiting for the moment when we need it most. The question isn't whether you'll face darkness. The question is, when that moment comes, will you be ready to fight back?" If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more true stories that remind us all the strength we carry inside. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you do to stay safe and prepared? Remember, you're stronger than you know, and you're always worth fighting for. Stay safe out there.